seemed a day like any other day. Bob Barker, the master of ceremonies of The Price is Right, arrived at the CBS Television City studio to do the work. Bob Barker was the MC of the highest order. TV Guide called The Price is Right the greatest game show of all time. That's because Bob Barker is a G. Born in the state of Washington in 1923, when our 30th president, John Calvin Coolidge, was in office, Bob was a host with more than most, as in 19 Emmys. But this day would not be a day like any other for the 70-year-old star, for on this, the 8th day of June, in the year 1994, Bob would come face to face with our Sports Stories guest today, the one and only Christopher McGee. Chris, a student athlete at Cal State University Northridge, had come to the CBS studio with a few of his spirited friends. As soon as the studio announcer, Rod Roddy, who succeeded the legendary Johnny Olson in the role, called out, "Christopher McGee, come on down." McGee went down, as in he fell down, like his hero Chevy Chase. Rod Roddy was a little shook up, but it was the animal-loving Barker that would now have to deal with the guy we all know as Geeter, the man in time who would redefine the art of being an MC at pro beach volleyball events and would win an Emmy as the host of the Los Angeles Lakers Access Sportsnet show. Now was the time for Geeter to announce himself to the world. I'm a Venice, California-born, Los Angeles-based sports fan, one that has played, coached, announced, and promoted sports my whole life. My love affair with sports started in my own backyard and has led me to this podcast. Thanks to the support of the Amateur Athletic Union in East Bay, I'm excited to bring you Sports Stories with Denny Lennon. Hello, sports historians. This is part 2 of 3 of Life is Sweeter with Geeter, where Chris McGee drains the 3. You can go to our website and find the link to watch or listen to part 1. We've also been populating our website with original content that you may enjoy. So head to sportsstoriespodcast.com and enjoy. And please help us grow our audience by giving us a review and sharing the podcast. Christopher McGee is what Rod Roddy called the guy we all know as Geeter on The Price is Right. And if you've not seen the edited YouTube of Geeter on the show, search it out. It is well worth a look. On the show, you can see the traits that will make Geeter a star. It's not just the banter or the dance moves. It's not just how he gets the audience going or how he interacts with Bob Barker. It is all of that, and it's fun. Geeter is talented, no doubt, but above all, he's fun. The greatest MC the game of beach volleyball has ever seen, and the studio host for the Los Angeles Lakers learned a thing or two about being an entertaining announcer while growing up a Laker fan in the 80s. He not only got to cheer on the Showtime Lakers, he got to listen to the man who redefined having fun as a play-by-play announcer, the great Chick Hearn. Born in Illinois in 1916 while World War I was still raging overseas, and our 28th president, Thomas Woodrow Wilson, was in office working on his 14 points, Francis Dale earned his nickname as a young man in the 1930s playing AAU basketball while at Bradley University. Then going by Francis, his teammates played a prank on him, handing him a shoebox to see his surprised reaction when he opened it up only to find a dead chicken. Wait, what? What the... Oh, those good old whimsical days when we handed a box to our friends with a dead animal in it. Not okay. Can you imagine how upset that would make the pet lover and animal activist Bob Barker? Wasn't this during the Depression? They should be eating chicken, not playing post-mortem pranks with them. That prank is, by the way, way outside of the AAU player code of conduct. So, I suppose Chick came to terms with the origin story of his name. Then in 1938, he met and married Marge, the love of his life. Chick joined the Lakers when they moved from Minneapolis to Los Angeles in 1960. As a play-by-play announcer, he was as big a part of the Lakers' popularity in Los Angeles as was the play of Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, or Wilt Chamberlain. Chick Hearn made the games fun to listen to, inventing phrases and terms that are now part of the basketball lexicon. Slam dunk, airball, no harm, no foul are just a few. His trademark call when victory was secured, The game's in the refrigerator, the door's closed, the light's out, the eggs are cooling, the butter's getting hard, and the jello's jiggling. It was classic Chick. And as a Laker fan, it was silly, it was fun, a ritual that only increased your love for the game, your team, and Chick. He was so entertaining, you forgot he had an analyst calling the game with him. The analyst's job was like being a backup quarterback. Just hold the clipboard and wait to see if you get a chance to participate. Chick loved the Lakers, and the fans loved him back. He called 3,338 consecutive games between 1965 and 2001, the streak broken by a surgery and compounded by a fall. Chick returned to his beloved perch high above the sideline in April of 2002, and I was there with my wife, Christine. The fans' standing ovation that night in Staples Center when he was announced was a truly emotional moment. And looking back now, I realize how fortunate we were to be there, considering Chick would die just 4 months later at the age of 85. The display of love that night from the fans showed the important connection he shared with the Laker faithful. Chick had his share of gigs outside of the Lakers, notably hosting and showing off his quick wit on Bowling for Dollars, which aired on KTLA TV from 1972 to 1976. Among Chick's work in motion pictures, he played himself in the 1985 movie Fletch, starring Chevy Chase in the title role. In a dream sequence, Fletch is playing for the Lakers, Chick calling the action. Fletch is actually 6'5", but with the afro 6'9". The movie is a favorite of our guest, Geeter, who, like Chick, is fun and entertaining. There is a team he captains to this day in the legendary Manhattan six-man beach volleyball tournament. They go by the name of Team Fletch, and everyone on the team dresses accordingly. The sport of beach volleyball had grown up on the shores of Southern California, entrenching itself into the way of life for beach communities. The sport was gaining popularity nationally on the domestic professional tour, the AVP, with top players like Karch Karai and St. John Smith. The women had formed the WPVA, where Carolyn Kirby and Angela Rock made up the top team. Both tours were staples on cable and eventually network television in the late 80s and into the 90s. Geeter got us started announcing at a beach volleyball tournament in Cabo San Lucas, a resort city at the southern tip of the Baja California peninsula. By the mid-90s, when Geeter took the mic full-time and started developing his unique style, the game was popular enough to become an official Olympic sport. By the 2000s, Geeter had risen to become the MC and voice of the AVP and was of similar importance to their success as Chick was to the Lakers. Like Chick, Geeter was knowledgeable, entertaining, fun, and always on top of his game. And the best part, he was just getting started. Well, now that I've dropped the king of pets, R-squared, Mr. Come On Down, Silent Cal, Cornelius Crane Chase, Chicky Baby, the war to end all wars, the professor, a dead chicken, Mr. Clutch, number 22, the Big Dipper, Jinbo, Fletch, the AVP, the WPVA, Charles Frederick, Christopher St. John, and how about Kirby and Rock? Christopher McGee, come on down. It's time to take the 74-28 shot. He drained the shot from deep, so we'll show it again this week. From the 74-28 studio in the shadow of LAX, here is part 2 of a 3-part interview with Laker broadcaster Chris Geeter McGee. Please note that this interview with Chris McGee was recorded January 23rd, 2020, 3 days prior to the death of Kobe Bryant and 8 others.
I love how your foot's up. Okay. 3, 2.
Shot. Bucket. 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 It was there any doubt?
I love that you crushed that. I love that you crushed that. That's you, buddy, right there. Man, MV.
That's a good start.
MV.
Do it now.
Do they call it Matamania?
Yes.
That is
Athletes
now
still do
that's,
it.
That's legacy.
Right?
That's legacy. That's better than a statue. Oh, that's awesome.
Better than a statue.
That
That's
is
awesome.
beautiful.
Oh.
And then something else happened that I found,
Yeah.
which I know has been seen, but
Yeah.
I want to make sure we can break this down.
I
Now,
have a feeling.
given that
Is this Bob Barker involved?
it sure
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Now, given that we're audio and a video podcast, I'll make you comment on the play-by-play.
The play-by-play here is
But
because I can give you. There's a long version, but I'll give you a much shorter one
so
for podcast sake.
yeah, so it's Price is Right.
So it's Price is Right, and Let me give you the lead up to this moment because it's important.
Okay.
Okay. So a guy named Pete Michelli, who's a big-time agent, another guy named Darren Jones. You'll see them at the front because without them, I don't win. The TV always goes to them, and they're the ones giving me the numbers.
Yeah.
They watch The Price is Right every day.
Got it.
They ordered these tickets, 15 of them, okay? So I'm going. Coley's in. We've got a couple guys. We do a draft because we're like, listen, we only got 15. We got 80 guys who want to go, and there's 8 that are going. I mean,
Okay.
we're going. We're seniors. This is our time. We do a draft. We get 15 guys. Of course, we rig the draft so our boys go the whole time. But so we get up at 4 a.m. We're and listen, I'll say it now. Listen, Mom, I'm sorry. We're drinking 40s. we're getting out there, and we're there. And to this day, I don't know why I was the first guy called. Apparently, they have people out there. So we're out there for 3 hours.
And you're entertaining, aren't
but
you?
all of our guys are. We got everyone doing the national anthem, 500 people. And I remember walking, and a lady stopped me and asked me a question about our group. And I told her about the earthquake had just happened. So I don't. But then again, we're lined up. And you're lined up 400 people in a line, and a guy named Phil is in a chair just like you are with 2 Barker Beauties on his side. And he's got a thing right before you walk in. He said, "What's your name?" "I'm Denny Lennon from blah 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 Venice Backyard Championships." And whatever you want to say. And I'm like 13th in line of my guys, and my guys are giving the funniest. Coley Kime goes into his ankle, and all the guys, he goes, "What's your name?" And what do you do? Why do you want to be here? Whatever he said to me, I go, "My name's Christopher Joseph McGee, and I just came to play ball, Phil." That's all I said.
Solid.
That's all I said.
Concise.
And I'm like, what does that
Funny.
even mean? Walked in. This is a true story, and you're going to see this in a second.
And this
is a true story. We're there, and the guy comes out, Roddy or whatever his name is. He's telling you like, "Hey, don't touch Bob. He's fragile." He's going through the whole thing, and he's like, "Listen, it's going to be really loud." And first of all, you're in this like studio, and you're like, "It looks so big on TV. It's like 6 feet. The ramp is, you know." So I'm like, we're all sitting there, and everyone's raging, and all of a sudden, he's like, "It's going to be really loud. So the ladies will put up a board. You'll see a name. So make sure you look if you don't hear me because it's going to be electric in here." He's telling us, and a girl drops a board.
The cue card?
And all I saw was ER. Just ER. It's a true story. And I thought, Christopher McGee. And I swear to God, I sat down, and I got the gnarliest nerves. I thought I was going to throw up. Wow. And Keith Gibbs, basketball player, standing next to me. I grab him. He's like 6'8", but I grab his leg because he's standing still raging. I go, "Dude, I think they're going to call me." And he's like, "What?" And, dude, I'm like, Denny, I am in a full panic. And here's the deal. You'll see this. When they call me, everyone thinks I trip. That's a Chevy Chase fall. Do you remember Chevy used to fall
Absolutely.
every single Saturday Live to open the show?
Gerald Ford.
That was my
whoever he
thing
might
in
be.
college. I would always fake fall. Chevy Chase. We loved him. So that's why we have Team Fletch for 25
so
years.
good.
So the night before, we're raging, and everyone's like, "What do you do if you get called?" And everyone's talking, and I'm like, "Dude, for sure Chevy fall." So when I get called here, you'll see me. That's a fake fall, and you see that old guy try to get me, and I popped up, and all of a sudden, I was like Madamania. That's why I'm breakdancing. I just started breakdancing.
Dancing?
The whole
This
time.
is so good.
Yeah.
God, that's deep intel.
That
That is deep intel.
So you'll see.
Like a-
So I'm the first name called in the whole show.
Yeah.
Christopher McGee,
Here
come
he
on down.
comes.
And I was right. They're going to find me. Here I come. Fake. Fall. Boom. I'm on the ground. That guy guys will
no
get me. I
way.
pop up. Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh.
Yeah. I lawnmower
Look at-
down. Next thing you know.
look at-
Yeah. There I go.
And what's
And now I'm just like third base coaching it, waving people down. If you see, they'll show me a
Oh,
little bit.
that's so
Oh,
good.
yeah. I'm waving her down. Now I'm dancing with her and hugging her.
and it was cold out because
Yeah.
apparently.
But by the way, biggest goof ever. I'm wearing jorts and a sweatshirt around my waist. Still get heckled 30 years later. about
I
this.
would, yeah, I would.
I don't care.
I was going to lay off of that.
Yeah.
So we move forward a little
Move
bit.
forward.
Uh,
Way later in the show because I can't win anything.
Right.
I win a Murray Feist 3-piece lamp set. I just go $1 more than this lady,
So-
$851 Bob.
and he is and Bob
And
Barker
by the way,
is
if
getting
you're listening to
agitated
me-
because
yeah.
he keeps going,
Yeah,
this is
he's
going to last forever.
He's
you
gonna-
know,
and I'm like
'cause
looking to my guys because I'm clueless on everything. Like
but you got, like, you. got
these are all my
Barker.
guys. Yeah, Bob. And by the way, I'm calling him Bob. And I don't know if you know this, but
Yes.
there was a great movie when you and I were kids, The Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
And Dan
Hey,
Aykroyd.
Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Yep.
So that's why I'm calling him Bob the whole show.
Oh, man.
751. Murray Feist 3-piece lamp set was with me for 11 years until my fiance,
With you
who's now
for
my
11
wife, made me
years.
throw it out when we moved in together.
So you come up,
If those lamps could tell stories.
and they're going to, what's this? This is too good.
That's a Mercury Grand Marquis.
And really?
Yeah,
Did you drive this around?
So I don't know in this version because it's totally edited. My buddy put it up. But you'll see. So
you keep changing
this
the
is
numbers.
how clueless I am.
So my wife knows this show.
I went
like
to
she
39,000. But my first bid is 39,000.
Yeah.
For a Mercury.
And
that's wrong.
It's a $10,000 car.
Yeah. But I think I'm winning because there's no beeping, there's no buzzing. So watch, like
he's like.
So watch. I think you'll see this. This is the best part of the whole show. When it gets to 0 here, I start jumping around and I'm celebrating.
Brilliant.
I haven't won anything yet. And I come back and Bob's like, "Where are you going?" And I lean and I go, "I'm just heading for the car, Bob." And I switch the numbers. And so right now,
So,
I think,
you're switching these numbers.
Switching
through.
the numbers, and you'll see Pete and Darren there. They're helping me out. When Karch Karai got a hold of this, by the way, he went up. He couldn't believe it. Everyone, 8 years after I'd done it, someone finally told him, look at me jumping around. There I am jumping around like a complete jackass.
And you haven't won anything.
Heading for the car, Bob.
I say, he's
heading for the car, Bob. And he goes, "Don't head for there yet." We're on our way, Bob. Heading for the car, Bob.
Oh, man.
So real quick, Karch grabs the mic at an AVP event to the whole crowd before the finals and tells the story and then puts it on the Jumbotron. So every few years it just pops up.
Oh. I thought.
Okay, so I'm all freaked out. I have 2 numbers right, which you don't see that part. So I have to change 3 numbers. So I changed the 9. I'm sorry, a 7 to a 9. I changed a 3 to a 1, 7 to a 9, and now this is where it's a miracle. I think Pete, we're still trying to this day figure out who got me. We think I accidentally back into the second 8 to a 6.
I would say this is the beginning of your broadcast career here.
Right here.
Because you're owning the stage, right?
And here it goes. So, I mean, sweatshirt around the race is really an awful look with the jorts. But now we're getting close. So now I'm starting to get that nervous feeling again, Dan.
Yeah, here it comes.
Now it's coming. I'm going to go into a coach's stance.
So
we used to go into a coach's stance. Whenever we needed a side out on the sideline, I would get our whole bench to do this. So now I'm in a coach's stance, and now I win.
So good.
So here's the thing. I tell Bob, I look at Bob, and I go, "I'm going down." And I go down to the ground, and I do the windmill kick, and he could not believe it. And then I go, mashed potato sprinkler straight into a handshake, which looks like it was coordinated. It was just one of the luckiest things of all time.
Oh, well played.
Thank you.
Well played.
So the funny thing about this, after I'm sitting there on the side, you don't get to go back with your crew.
If we have people that are just watching,
they're going to go nuts.
are just listening. It's important that they look that up.
Yeah.
You just go Geeter.
Price is right.
Price is right.
When I won, you then go off to the side. I'm not with my boys for the next hour and a half, right? And the lady comes over to me and she goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, well, I just got done playing volleyball in Northridge. I'm a waiter at Marie Callender's. And she's like, "Bob just wanted you to know that was incredible." Blah, blah. I'm like, "Sweet, that's awesome." And they had me sign some things. I walk out, and the whole next show knows I've won, and I got the pink slip to the car, and I'm running, high-fiving 500 people. There was no cell phones that day. So I pulled over to call my mom and dad on a payphone.
Oh, wow.
And my mom's like, "You didn't go to class?" I'm like, "No, shut up.
Listen.
I won a car on The Price is Right and a Murray Feist 3-piece lamp set." We went back. A couple of the young ladies that you see on the show, we'll tell you about this later, off air. They came back to Northridge to party with us.
Oh,
we had the greatest party of all time that night. But everyone thought I was rich.
Wow.
So I was buying. I didn't have any money except tips from Marie Callender's, but I thought I was rich.
Hey,
so I got the car,
you can do some betting.
sold it for $16,000, paid $4,000 taxes, walked away with $12,000.
Okay.
And it aired the day we all graduated. So back at our condos where we lived, there was like 8 families all came over to our house. Probably had 70 people in our condo because we had to tape it because we were graduating and watched The Price is Right.
What a great memory. Wait, on that show, did you get to the showcase showdown?
No, Frank from Florida spun $1.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Now
crushed me.
that'll mean something. But my wife Christine's like, ask him if he got to the showcase.
And by the
showdown.
way, ironically, Darren and Pete helped that guy, Frank, which would have been me, win the double because they were within $1,000. Yes,
They're like
they
savants.
carried him, and he won the whole both. He won a motorhome, the whole thing has been people don't realize, but the 15 of us, those guys have gone on for the last 25 years, going, dude, if Geeter had gone to the showcase, we would have won a motorhome. I mean, dude, you should have seen the gifts back then.
We got to go deeper into that. We're going
I know.
to do a series.
I've always thought, by the way, I don't know. I've always thought one day I would be the host of Price is Right. What a story that would be.
That would be.
Guy wins a
That
car,
would be full circle.
first time ever on TV, and he ends up being the host.
And you're so fortunate because Bob didn't. How long did he last?
Man,
Maybe
a
like
long
another.
time, dude.
He did. He kept
Well, I
going.
mean, who Drew Carey does it? Who does it now?
Yeah, but wow. But you were there in the heart of it.
Heart of it.
People are loving that.
I was there. Yeah, that was '94.
That is something.
Some stuff started to come out right after. Bob got in a little
Yeah.
hot water.
But he made some ground with the animals.
He
so
did.
That's
He
good.
did. He
so
did.
that's
Loved-
good.
loved
you
the-
know.
loved the
You know,
animals.
it's like you get in trouble.
Neuter your
and
pets.
Yep. And you put out a lot of good content to
Yep.
beat down the bad content. That's
Exactly.
what Bob did.
That's
with
what
the
Bob
pets.
did.
Mhm.
100%.
We'll give him that.
Hey guys, this is Marley, and I'm the producer. I finally got these guys to shut up for a second so we could do a commercial.
Of all the tequila joints in all the towns in all the world, you need to walk into Casablanca Restaurant in Venice, a proud sponsor of Sports Stories. When Carlos Haro Jr., the manager of Casablanca, was a young man, he made his mark in Venice at St. Mark's School, where he led his teams to several championships and was named the 1990 Athlete of the Year. As his coach in those days, whenever Carlos would score a hoop in basketball, I would immediately call for the team to play it again, Carlos. We even had one play called Here's Looking at You, Carlos, where we deceived the defense by making it look like we were going to give it to Carlos, then dropped it into Big Daddy Jeff Flores for the bucket. As time goes by, you'll want to round up the usual suspects and head to Casablanca Restaurant in Venice. Mention Sports Stories with Denny Lennon to either Carlos Sr. or Carlos Jr. and get a free dessert. Sports Stories in Casablanca Restaurant in Venice. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. You're doing a lot of coaching concurrent
Yeah.
while you're at Northridge, right?
Yeah, I
So
was.
you got
coaching.
pulled in when you're still
Yeah.
at Northridge.
Man,
'Cause
18,
I started young
18
too.
years old, yeah.
I started real young. Yeah.
Assisting at club for JOs and all that stuff. And I went back to my old high school and helped Coach Slattam, who I mentioned before. I was kind of destined to be a basketball coach at Crespi. That's my job was lined up. Paul Muff had basically hired me. I was a senior at Northridge. I was graduating in 6 months. I was going to go back and be the freshman basketball coach. And Paul passed away late January of 1994.
And that really affected you.
It did. I never went back on that campus, which was really weird until.
And he was your coach for 4 years, right? Or 3
No,
years?
only 2,
Oh.
but he was just very instrumental, and he
he
was
was
my
a-
guy. But I would go back and coach every summer after that, so
Right.
for his camp. And what was ironic about it all was he dies. My volleyball career ends up at Stanford. We lost to Pepperdine in regionals. I cried my eyes out. My mom had to come get me out of the locker room. I knew it was my last ever sporting event. And it was Tim Jensen and Jared Elliott. Jared Elliott was a very good friend of mine at the time. And Jared was coaching at Marymount. He wasn't at SC and then Texas. And he said, dude, my buddy Craig Forsyth can't coach this 17s team anymore. Can you come coach them for the last 2 months and take them to the festival? And I went. Dude, I couldn't even get off the couch. And those girls, I credited them. They rallied me. I went, and I fell in love with coaching. We had a great run at festival.
great?
And next year I was coaching with Tim and Jared, and I never looked back. That's why I didn't go to Crespi. I ended up going to Tim got me a job at Campbell Hall, and I was at Campbell Hall. The next time I went to Crespi was 4 years later when Campbell Hall, we went and smashed Crespi.
Okay. Yeah, you went back in.
Yeah, went back and beat them.
With the, you know, it's interesting because I've seen different parallels. You did the same thing I did, little calling down games, that kind of stuff. But I lost a really close friend when I was like 19.
Yeah,
you know,
it changes things.
It's a difficult time to deal with that because you're not fully developmentally.
100%.
And so you don't understand all of it. But the one saving grace was I was coaching at the time.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that kind of
Now
spirit of athletics, help the whole process.
Denny, you knew Mike Whitmarsh. I mean, Mike was one of my best friends in the world, and Karch, very tight with Mike. I mean, we all were, and he was a guy I talked to every day. And when he passed away, that's what 10 years ago now. I mean, it's affected me to this day. Like, so it doesn't even matter. Like, 19 is so young to lose someone. So is 31. So is 40. It's crazy when you lose that guy. Or 19 is way too young.
Yeah,
to lose a buddy.
So you're hooked on coaching, and I think
that was my path.
Around 95.
Yeah.
So you're hanging with your boys in Cabo.
Yeah, hanging with that.
And they
did do your research.
and they throw you a mic.
Yeah, threw me a mic.
Because what is it? Kind
it
of
was
a
a
beach
six-man
volleyball
tournament.
trip?
One female, 5 guys. Easter weekend. AVP had a break.
Okay.
I went down for the first time. They throw me a mic. Our team had already lost. I was on a team with like Parker Blackman. That's my first time meeting him. All these volleyball guys are down there. I mean, Steve Timmons is down there. Whitty's down there. Dodd's down there. I mean, everybody.
Having a good time.
And having a great time. And I was out in the water, and a couple guys came out there and go, Geeter, they need a guy to announce.
You're only a year removed from the Price is Right.
Never announced in my life. Grabbed the microphone and just started like doing the Macarena was new. Started doing that. I learned it one night on that trip. So I did that at the break. I was just drinking, doing all different voices, Marv Albert or whatever. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And fast forward, so for a couple of years, I started then doing Billy Berger, had a little tour. I would help out.
Wow.
Small time announcing. Fast forward 2 years, and Jim Marico and Sam Lagana, both their wives were pregnant. They weren't going to be able to do every tournament.
And these are the AVP.
AVP announcers, sorry.
Pro
yes.
domestic.
Yeah. They were the AVP announcers, MCs. And John Stevenson, who passed away not too long ago, Johnny the Steve ran the AVP. He was looking for someone else to help. And Matt Unger and Kevin Martin were like, our boy Geeter would be great at it. And he goes, Geeter.
Too, huh?
Yeah, they goes, Geeter, Kevin Martin. He goes, who, Geeter? And they go, he was the guy in Cabo. And John Stevenson was there. He goes, I love that guy. So I went and met John. Jim Marico came and met with me. And I met Jim. Jim and I talked in the parking lot for about an hour and a half. And Jim let me go on tour with him, basically, and taught me everything.
Jim was also a lawyer, right?
Yeah, still is.
He's an attorney, and but he would do this on the weekends.
Do it on the weekends.
I knew him.
And Sam had been a longtime voice, too, so they would split.
I knew both Sam and Jim because I was the WPVA guy.
Yeah, of course.
And they were the AVP.
Yeah.
And they split that tour, and I always used to envy that they didn't have to go to every event.
Oh, yeah, because they could split.
Because on WPVA, I had to go to every one.
And Sam was our announcer at Northridge. He worked at Northridge.
And now Sam is the announcer for the Rams at the Coliseum?
Yeah, and he works at Pepperdine.
And Pepperdine, yeah. That's
great
wild.
fundraiser.
So you grab the mic and you hit it big there, and then you're learning under Jim. So here's something that is interesting to me. Obviously, you're learning and you're getting opportunities and you're getting those reps. I always credit those reps because you for so long in the course of a day have to speak correctly. Because you're in a microphone.
It's not play-by-play per se, but it is, if that makes sense.
You're
not
concise.
on TV calling a game, but you're doing play-by-play and
in between the serves.
Color commentating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you got to do it in between serves because you're not supposed to interrupt. One of the things, and then of course, our big moment as MCs is the introductions.
So
the introductions come, and I just followed in line with my uncle, who was the boxing announcer, Jimmy Lennon.
Yeah.
And basically it was like, from ding-ding, from this, from this.
Everyone's got their style.
Now you have a lot of moxie, my friend.
Yeah.
You have a lot of chutzpah.
It probably helped me.
How did you
It got me every
up
job.
with all of this?
It might have got me every job.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, it's the only. It was what people knew.
It's a stream for people who haven't heard you do introductions for AVP.
Yeah.
One, they got to look it up. Two, I'm going to play one. I'm going to play just a quick one here. So we kind of. But it's a stream of consciousness.
It's funny. It
doesn't
started.
seem like you could plan these things.
The first time I ever went down there and did it on the sand was maybe year 2. Well, in year 1, I would go down with Jim. He would be up top, and I'd be down low, and I'd be yelling at everybody, and I would just breakdance and have some fun and worm and do all this stuff. The next year, we were at Louisville, Kentucky at a bar, and there was a court in the middle of the bar, and the bar surrounded the court, and it was an 8-team thing, and Hav were all there raging. And I'll never forget, it was the finals. It was Whitty and Canyon versus Dax and Todd. And they're like, go down on the sand and do the introductions. And I went down on the sand, and all of a sudden the TV camera was on, and I was yelling in the camera, and I introduced the guys because I used to do intros, and I knew them all. So I would go. My whole thing was just go, and I would long intros like this, and I knew stats. It's from the years of calling my own games in the backyard. Like I said. So I had all these things in my head.
You'd get very close to them.
Oh yeah, right in their face. And it just. But by the way, so
takes a lot of guts to do that.
Moment. I don't think I rarely ever did a final not on the sand again because TV was like, oh, we're going to start doing that. And then it became part of the show. And then it became like players would come out and dance with me. I mean, it took a life of its own.
So the one
it got me to the Olympics.
The one I like is this one in Chicago. And it's a David Bowie song's playing.
Can I tell you about this real quick?
Please.
So this.
So
I'm just so you know,
but you
under
said
pressure,
yeah.
I would do this before Game 3s in the final.
Oh, I see.
So Game 3s in the final, I loved this song. And it just started as a rant one time. Jeremy played it, and it took a life of its own where people would get to the finals and they'd be like, dude, you didn't do under pressure. So I started like, oh my God, like, because you got to kind of. So when game threes would come in a big moment, I would sit on
This is
stage.
it.
I yell at Lance Briggs here from the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and so you got a couple of bears, and this is what
Yep.
you do so well is you will just start working the crowd
Yeah.
while you concurrently introduce
Yep.
and while you will give them a little tidbit of yourself.
Yep.
I think you say something to the effect here, you want to learn about under pressure? I'm the one who's got a little baby
Yeah.
and a pressure, and these people are going to be standing behind me. It's so funny.
Yeah, he starts laughing because I talk about him losing the Super Bowl. He's dying.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is I would build up the 4 players, and I talk about the pressure of the moment. And in that time, my Millie was who plays in all the AAUs, and you guys all know now, Millie was a baby. And it was on that trip where we was like, getting the stroller through, and this lady behind me was all pissed. And I'm like, do you even know what pressure is? Like, this is pressure.
This is pressure.
That kid it got a poopy diaper, and I'm trying to get the I couldn't get the stroller up and get it through the.
People are mad at
yeah,
you.
so they
and
thought
so
it was
then
funny.
you brought that in there?
Yeah, I brought it in there.
So, yeah, it just
And by the
whatever
way,
comes
it's
to
funny
mind.
says I started to do under pressures from the sand. They had me going down. So it just all took a life of its own. And what was cool about introductions for players is you're right there, and it would be in my ear. They'd be like 3, 2, 1, and NBC would start with me. I
remember
and
that.
it would be me on the crowd.
Now, you did that a whole lot more than I did. I had basically was on tape with I was basically on tape with WPVA stuff.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if you screw up, you could do it over. But there was the times we were either on CBS or ABC where that was intense.
Yeah.
Those guys are cursing.
No, it's
And you can't
if you
talk
don't
back
know
to
it,
them.
Bob's
and they're
panicking.
yelling in your ear.
No, it's gnarly.
It is. It's kind of crazy, and
It's
they keep
gnarly.
talking while you're doing your introductions. They're yelling at you. How many seconds you have? It's for. I mean, I was just young. I hadn't done that. But you
me
did
either.
NBC all the
But
time.
here's the thing: like when I first started, I didn't know any of that. I didn't go to school for it.
Nope,
They were in
me
your
neither.
ear. I had no idea. First time I ever did play-by-play for Fox for a Pac-10 game, Holly McPeak, it was her first game. I had the producer yelling at me. I had no idea what he was talking about. I faked it. And you basically faked my whole career, and here I am sitting across from Denny. But it's funny because those moments, a week later, we were in Beijing, and I was announcing the Olympics. A week after that, Under Pressure you just saw. And Carrie and Misty were in the finals. This is literally, a week later we left. So a few weeks after, because they're in the finals, so you go for that whole 2 weeks. And it was pouring rain. And the Chinese player in the finals, gold medal match, she's down. They're down, and she knows Carrie and Misty are about to win. She goes for the medical timeout. She would always lay there like she was dead. and there's a monsoon. It's pouring rain. And she's down for like 10 minutes. So I go out, and I just start going. And I'm yelling at all. I'm 20,000 people. I'm doing my whole thing. I got Vince Vaughn right there in the corner. I'm driving the bus back to Cali. He's everyone. What I didn't know was all the Today Show people were in the crowd. Al Roker, Meredith, their producers. So all of a sudden I get a call that night. Well, they actually called the USA Volleyball, and they got in touch with me, and they're like, they want you on the Today Show tomorrow night.
What?
After Phil and Todd's, if Phil and Todd win, they're going to be on as well. They want you on. They want you to introduce them. And I'm like, I brought one nice outfit. I swear I put this into existence. I dreamt this. I had a feeling. I had one nice outfit in case something good happened. Man, I put those slacks on, that shirt. I'd never been more nervous in my life. Wow. So I'm sitting there, and they taped it at night. Live at night. So I'm in my truck. I got a truck. It's like the women's soccer team and me. They had just won gold. Al Roker comes in. He's like, Geeter, awesome worm you did. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And by the way, we're about to go on. And I'm just like, and I'll never forget, Todd Rogers looks over at me and he goes, dude, what is wrong with you? I've never seen you like this. I go, dude, I don't know. Like, I'm freaking out. So all of a sudden I walk up. We're in a commercial. They put the earpiece in, and they're like, we're coming to you, and you're coming in. This is NBC. This is Today's
They give
Show.
you like 30 seconds?
Yeah, they're coming to you, and Meredith's going to throw to you to introduce Todd and Phil. So all of a sudden she's like, hey guys, Todd Bowers, Phil Dahlhauser, blah, blah, blah. They're like, we got a surprise for you. We brought an old friend. They already knew I was there, but throw to me, and I go into the whole thing. And I'm doing the player intro.
What'd you do?
Oh, I did the whole thing. I kind of gave their intro. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from the day he dropped out of the womb, the doctor looked at the nurse looked at the doctor, and the doctor said, this man, named the Thin Beast, will dominate the world. And I did the Todd Rogers, and I did their whole thing. And I all of a sudden I threw the mic and did the worm, and I got back up in my slide. I looked at Al Roker, and that was for you, Al. while, and I mean, it was like electric. And I have goosebumps thinking about it because it was a moment that I had like literally dreamt of. And I'm done. And Meredith and Ann are like, "Oh, this is great." They're like, Phil and Todd are like, "Oh my God," Phil and Todd had seen it a million times.
So they're like,
and Meredith's like, "Aren't you gonna miss him?" And this is when it hit me that people don't even have a clue about beach volleyball. This is NBC.
They thought they were going to graduate.
No, Todd's like, "No, we're seeing him next week in Cincinnati." That's what he said. Like, "We're on your air, dummy." Yeah, they didn't even know. So here's the deal. I'm like feeling good. I'm not nervous anymore. I'm like, it's the greatest night of my life. I'm going to go party my ass off. Let's go. And all of a sudden, I'm like, getting a hold of the wife. She's watching live. And all of a sudden, like, they come over to me. They're like, "Producers want to know if you'll stay the whole 3 hours."
Ooh.
I stayed the whole time. I brought us out of break one time and gave intros. So they're like, "We want you to do it for Al, Meredith, and Ann." And I go, "Well, then you got to give me info. So I want bullet points. What have they done while they're on this trip?" Wow. I got bobsledding champion Al Roker. I got all the crazy, and I did full introduction for them.
That is so good.
The last half hour in Beijing, it starts with me, and I'm like, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls," to the audience, and I'm like, "It's the last half hour in Beijing." Yeah, I know.
Does this live somewhere?
I mean, it's funny is I have it somewhere on a DVD. And I was funny. I was looking for it the other day, and I didn't go deep enough. But I think it used to be on a couple websites, so I know I have the link.
I'd love to see
Dude, it was like one of my most famous.
Did it?
It was on my reel for years.
When you got there and you were hired to announce, did they know they were getting the full Geeter, or were they trying to put a cap on what you did?
Olympics?
Yeah.
That's such a good question. So, the guy, the Austrian announcer was there as well, and we were supposed to trade off, and he was a really nice guy, but it was funny. The head of the FIVB, Angelo Squayo, it was weird. He came to me at the end. He like wanted me to do the finals. I felt really bad because I did the women. I wanted Tom to do so I ended up doing both finals. We were totally trading off until the end.
Well, these things happen.
It happens.
It's the Olympics.
Yeah. He was more like he wasn't like Angelo wanted.
So
I mean, when I went and met him a year before,
the jurisdiction of Angelo because it was more FIVB than it was IOC that was calling the shots.
The year before, I went to Stade with my wife. She was pregnant with Millie. We went on a 10-day trip. We flew. Funny, we flew from Chicago over, and it was the World Championships. And I met with Angelo, and he said, "Can you go do something for me?" And Jake Gibb and Rosie were playing, and I took the mic, and I went out in Stade. I auditioned for 3 minutes, and they had this guy, Sasha, was playing for Austria, and he was a monster, and I just went up to his face, and I was screaming at him. He knew who I was from AVP, but he never met me, but those Jake and Rosie were like, "This is our guy." So I was just screaming at him. He's a monster of a man, and I just got the crowd going, basically gave the mic back, and Angela's like, "You want to do the Olympics?" I'm like, "I'm in." We went on our way to Italy.
Man.
True story.
I got asked.
I've been real lucky, man.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
You talked
I've
about
had
something.
some moments,
I heard you say something about always say yes.
Yes.
And then figure it out, right?
That's what I always tell college kids and high school kids.
And
say yes.
I said no to the Atlanta Olympics.
In '96?
Yeah, because they weren't going to pay me.
Well,
Okay,
then you're
so-
okay to say no there.
But
BS, dude.
they were just going, no, you come out on your own dime. find your
Imagine
own
that.
place.
They're asking you to do the Olympics for free. And by the way, the Olympics don't
Yeah.
pay much at all.
But it's
A
more
few
of
grand,
I
but
wish
I
I
know.
would have said yes.
Back then,
You know,
and now
my
you
uncle,
look
the
back.
boxing announcer,
Yeah.
he said no to the first Rocky because
No
they weren't
way.
going to pay him enough.
And gave it to Buffer, or who did it? One of those guys?
No, it was, if you've watched the first Rocky, it's some anonymous.
No.
But he's in Rocky 3, my Uncle Jim.
Dude.
So I do have his action figure up there. But he said no to
See,
Rocky
but that's
1.
hard,
and
Denny,
he
because
said, at the
96,
time-
you're trying to make a living, dude, also. And like, but
Yeah, it
now
was
you look
90, yeah.
back.
Right. I wish I would have done it. But I didn't.
I always wanted to do one.
But always say yes. That kind of
Always say
hit
yes.
home. Join us next week for part 3 of Life is Sweeter with Geeter. Now it's time for an installment of As Time Goes By, where we get to know Carlos Haro Jr. of Casablanca Restaurant in Venice 1 minute at a time. Remember, if you mention sports stories with Denny Lennon to either Carlos Sr. or Carlos Jr. while you dine at Casablanca, you get a free dessert. Now, let's play it again with Carlos Jr. Learning more about the Haro family story. Carlos, tell the story about how your father came to establish like Casablanca Restaurant, specifically Casablanca, as the name and so forth.
Sure. So here's the story my grandfather used to say. So as I said previously before in other times, my grandfather opened La Caballa, saw there was another restaurant available in front, and he was one of the first innovators who bought 2 restaurants right next to it. And at that time, he said, if you put restaurants together, you will attract people. And people thought this was like, why would you cannibalize yourself? But he said, if you look at, he was before Las Vegas, was like, you have one hotel that caters to one demographic and the other one does it to the other. But at the end, it's a central place where people come, which is kind of like the idea of the Strip. So his idea, but at that time, everybody's like, no, you're just going to cannibalize yourself. So he said, I'm going to make La Cabana a Mexican restaurant. And Casablanca was supposed to be, based on the movie, it was supposed to be kind of French and all these cuisines. How it goes about is he came up with this menu, came up with the recipes, and the chef later said, we can't make any of this. So they went right back to make Mexican food.
Okay.
But they had seafood. But I mean, literally, that was his idea. My grandfather would come up with these great ideas and kind of like Steve Jobs, you guys figure out how this idea is going to be implemented. And they're like, I don't know what this guy wants to do, but so the idea my dad tells me is that eventually we end up doing more Mexican food, and that's how I ended up at 2 restaurants from the same family with a
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon is supported by the AAU. Find a local event and join at aausports.org. And remember, you can catch your favorite amateur sports live stream, replays, and highlights at ballertv.com. Sports Stories, along with East Bay, supports the Heroes Movement, a nonprofit that bridges the gap from mental or physical therapy to getting strong again through strength and conditioning workouts. This free service is available for any veteran of the United States Armed Forces. Visit heroesmovementusa.org for more information. Sports Stories with Denny Lennon is a production of Sports Stories, Inc. and is available on Apple Podcasts and YouTube or wherever you listen and watch. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and give us a review. It really helps spread the word. You can find all our social media links, archives, and other info on our website at sportstoriespodcast.com. Special thanks to the John R. Wooden Course and Wooden's Wisdom. Original music for Sports Stories is courtesy of Lennon Music Productions. Original images by Ciena Lennon Photography. Sports Stories is produced by Marley Rice, edited by Bob McCall, and researched by Teresa Dolan. Additional staff include Christine Jinbo, Jake Downey, Ray Castro, and Buck Magic Lennon.
Whenever I'm headed to the dog park, there's 2 things I like. The wind blowing through my hair and listening to Sports Stories with Denny Lennon.
Check it out, Buck!